Okay, I want to show you how I painted a painting that I titled Target Practice, and the reference photo was sent to me by one of my brother's friends. My brother Bob passed away a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and his friend Mark and he used to go out to a target practice shooting range in Southern California. I think it was called Palomino Gun Club or something. But anyway, it was something he enjoyed doing. So Mark knew that I was doing a lot of paintings, and he asked me if I could choose one from about 7 photos that he sent me. And this is the one I chose to work from, right here. Here it is. And so then I took that one and I used it as a reference photo. And I want to show you how I did it. I did it on Procreate using mostly a turpentine brush, which, if you're not familiar with Procreate, they do have an oil paint brush, but this is similar to it, but a little bit looser, a little bit wetter. Okay, so let's get to it. I want to show you and tell you about this one.
All right, well, there's the finished picture. We'll start with that, and then we'll go back to the beginning. The beginning, I started with a dark blue-green background or underpainting, although in this case it wasn't an underpainting, it was just the lower layer. And the focal point of the composition was going to be the 2 men, my brother and his friend, in a Jeep. And so I rough sketched it and then started fine-tuning it. Sometimes, recently anyway, I've been using the dry brush on Procreate. In this particular painting, I chose to use the turpentine brush. It has an oil painting look to it, and I like it actually better than the oil painting brush, although, you know, there's a time and a place for everything. But in this particular painting, I like the way the turpentine brush looked. Most of what you see right here is one layer. I just was painting it in the same way that you would do if it was a traditional painting with either acrylic or oil paint. But one of the things you can do with digital paint, obviously, is create layers. So I wanted to create this as the first layer, the windshield of the Jeep that they're driving, or that he's driving, and them. And the highlights make it's everything. The light, the sunlight hitting my brother Bob's hat, the sunlight hitting the shoulder of their clothing, and the edge of the windshield there on the Jeep, and even the reflection off of the steering wheel. It really makes everything pop and come alive. At this point, you can't tell by looking at it, but at this point it is a second layer, and I chose to do a second layer because I was kind of happy with what I had done already with them, and I wanted to do something that I could completely erase in case I messed up, and I didn't want to have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb erasing this, that, and the other thing. So the next layer was most of the rest of the Jeep. And it was a layer. Actually, there was 2 layers, one above them and one below them, beneath them, because there were times when I wanted it to overlap them, and other times, or not overlap them necessarily, but overlap things in the Jeep, and other times would be things under them. If you is in the time-lapse version of this, which is about I think this is about a 4-hour painting. It took about 4 hours. But look at the hood of the Jeep. You can see that it's not right. It's not lined up. Now, did you see that? That was me correcting it. Now that it is a digital technique, a digital tool, and it's obviously something. If you were going to use or correct something in a traditional painting, you would have to just simply repaint it or paint over it. It's one of the things I like about digital is you can grab a piece of it and change it. So once I had the 2 men the way I wanted them to look, I started with the background. The photo I was using as a reference was taken in the desert. I think it's outside of Los Angeles. There's a gun club called Palomino Gun Club, and I think that's where this is. I'm not really sure. But Mark, the gentleman with the gun in this case, he sent me a letter, and he knew I was doing paintings and asked me if I would do a painting from one of 7 photos that he sent, and I chose this one, as I mentioned in the intro. So it's a very, very, very loosely drawn or painted background. In the case of the background, I did use the dry brush somewhat. I thought the dry brush looked better as a way to communicate some leaves in the background that's a mountainside, by the way, a very close, like, cliff edge. I guess that's where they shoot anyway. Okay, well, that's it. I enjoy when you guys comment on these things and let me know what you think, and thank you for watching this, and thank you for watching all of them, and talk to you later. Bye.